The thing I want to start with, Luke, is Sam Darnold. It wasn't when the Seahawks signed him, you knew the Seahawks were on the verge of being a good team, but I don't know if anyone was totally sold on that signing at the very beginning, especially the way Darnold's season ended with the Vikings last year.
Absolutely. There was a lot of chatter saying, okay, we shouldn't let Geno walk. That's a mistake. You know, Sam, I wouldn't say he was thrown away by Minnesota, but clearly they could have kept him. They went with the young guy. Like you said, had a rough end of the year. There were moments this year with some turnover issues. And then he came out today and said, watch this. And I thought he carried this team. There were moments in this game where we were like, okay, Stafford is coming. You know, the defense, the Seattle defense was struggling against Matthew. I was very worried for my Hawks. And Sam Darnold answered every single call. And third down especially, you look at these plays here, was where I thought he thrived. They were 7 of 13. The goal was always to be 50%. They were obviously above that. These were massive plays, executed extremely well, and you see it. It wasn't first read situations. He was reading defenses, going through his progression, finding the right man. He was safe with the ball. I can't say enough, Jay, about this guy. And I'll end by saying this. There's a human element to playing football. You know, and we love to talk about, okay, here are the stats, here are the numbers. Like, let's think of, for Sam Darnold here, high draft pick, obviously to the Jets.
Yep.
Bloodbath there, bounces around numerous places, finally gets a real shot in Minnesota last year, has a great season, ends poorly. They let him walk, comes here to a team where a lot of the fans are like, we should keep Geno, and has the season he has in the moment he just had where he was dominant, elite, toe-to-toe with Matthew Stafford, who's most likely going to win MVP. That, to me, is grit. It's mental fortitude, and I'm happy for him.
And it's part of, like, a page-turner for this franchise, isn't it? You were part of the team that made the last 2 Super Bowls in 13 and 14. We know how legendary that defense was. For Seahawks fans, your team will always go down as a great team. This is like a new chapter, and not just a new chapter with the players, but this is Mike Macdonald. Just in his second year, he got them to the Super Bowl.
And it's wildly impressive. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy for John Snyder. You know, those kind of last years of Pete were a bit of a struggle, especially when Russ was still there before the Geno Smith era started. And you look at what Mike Macdonald's been able to do. I just think that he's got his fingerprints all over this team. That JSN interview is kind of a prime example. And I'll say this, it's a testament to where the game of football is going, Jay. And why I say that is you look offensively at Seattle. This is not a team loaded with all pros. Obviously, they have JSN, who I would argue is the best receiver in the NFL. But after that, they have a good tight end room. You know, their running backs, I don't think anyone would put Kenneth Walker as a top 5 back. I think he's tremendous, but he's not in that upper echelon. You look at Sam Darnold. Nobody has him as a top 5 quarterback. This offensive line has great players on it, but I don't think anyone had them as a top 5 offensive line. But it's a group of guys that have come together. They believe in their head coach. They believe in each other. And clearly, they're playing for something bigger than themselves. You can hear that in the interview, and that's a testament to Mike Macdonald's culture and one of the main reasons they got it done tonight.
Well, a guy who's been following this team all season long is our friend Farhan Lalji, and he joins us from Lumen Field in Seattle right now. He was there. He witnessed it. He was there in person. Farhan, first of all, Sam Darnold, we've been talking about it. It wasn't a slam dunk for Seahawks fans when he was signed, but, man, did he ever prove his worth in this game, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, as far as the signing of him in the offseason, I think a lot of it was also the risk-reward when it came to Geno, given what it was believed he wanted to re-sign here in Seattle. So certainly Geno was well-loved coming in after Russell Wilson, but I think everybody understood that from a value proposition, the Darnold signing certainly made sense. And for the majority of the season, he has lived up to that despite the turnovers. He's been able to play the game at a really high level, and he had so many questions coming into this game because everybody wanted to rewind to what happened last year in the final game of the regular season and then in the playoffs. But here he was in this game, 3 touchdown passes, and on every one of those touchdown passes, he got hits and still managed to make the play. He had 3 different receivers involved on those scoring plays. He didn't put the ball in harm's way in this game. You know, he was dialed in the red zone. He was sharp. On third down, he was sharp. And then late in the game, when they got that final drive, and Matthew Stafford was heating up, you can't give the ball back to him. He throws this dot where the defender can't make the play to Cooper Kupp to get a first down. He's rolling to his right, hits JSN in stride. You know, he made all the big plays when he needed to make them, and this was a statement game for him. This was a legacy game for him, no matter what happens next week in the Super Bowl. The fact that he was able to pull this off, to have the playoff run that he did, 70% completions, no turnovers in this game. You know, he had the one fumble that he recovered that kind of derailed the drive, but that was the only hiccup for Darnold. He was magnificent when it mattered.
Farhan, you know what I'm going to ask? How is the atmosphere there? It seems electric. It kind of reminds me of that 2013, 2014. What was the energy like?
Yeah.
Even pregame, you know, I saw a lot of celebrities there. Seattle gets a good crowd.
It does. You were the only guy missing. Hopefully we'll see you at the Super Bowl. Actually, you know we're going to see you at the Super Bowl, the biggest celebrity of them all. But truly, it is that. It feels that way. It feels that way before the game. The number of people that you get to see on the sidelines ran into Warren Moon. We had a nice visit, but there were a number of others. You can see just some stars that were here. I didn't want to go up to him and talk to him without name dropping you potentially, but it felt like that. I mean, when you used to think about the people that used to show up on your sideline when you played, there was a lot of that here, and so it's generating that kind of buzz in the city again, and there's a lot of excitement, and Seahawks fans travel well. I've seen what the ticket prices are for the early going for the Super Bowl. It's only going to go up because it's just a short trip to the Bay Area from here, so it feels that way. And the crowds, you know, we talked about this last week, that in the first little bit here for Mike Macdonald, the first season and a half, really, to the midway point of this season, the crowds weren't quite there. This team wasn't dominant at home. But in the back half of this season, they showed their dominance in this building, and the crowds have followed suit. And that was a factor in that final drive for Los Angeles as well. They couldn't hear a thing. You could tell Matthew Stafford was impacted by the noise.
Well, we've gone all this time, we haven't even really talked about the defense. And the defense was, I mean, that's a tough task going against this Rams offense. Farhan, who stood out for you defensively in the NFC Championship game?
Well, look, this was not a vintage performance for Mike Macdonald's defense. For the second straight game here, Sean McVay won the battle, his offense against McVay's defense. They gave up 480, 490 yards minus the sack yardage. And, Matt Stafford had a fantastic game. He was able to get what he wanted. Adams and Nakua, even the run game early on in this game. And then Seattle made a number of mistakes. But the one guy that stood out to me was Nick Emanwari, a rookie that's come in from South Carolina. This was a big-time body and piece that Macdonald wanted for this defense. You see these back-to-back plays right here. He strings us down the line of scrimmage for a tackle for loss. Then he's going head-to-head with Devontae Adams. This is a rookie safety, and he's able to make that play. And then later on, another set of back-to-back plays. He's going up head-to-head with Buka Nakua. He's able to knock this pass away, and then on third down against Rivers, he also makes the play. So this guy was the one bright light. He didn't miss tackles. When Tariq Woolen made that ridiculous play late in the game, it was Emanwari on the sideline that was actually trying to talk to him and be a leader as a rookie because Woolen took that penalty. So he's that chess piece. They can move him anywhere. Seattle plays their base front less than any team in the NFL. They're only in their base package 17% of the time. They're always in nickel and dime, and that's because of a player like Emanwari who you can move all over the place and he can be successful.
Well, guys, I've got great news. You guys are about to be reunited in a couple of weeks in Santa Clara. How good are you feeling about working together on Super Bowl 60?
It's going to be electric.
Yeah?
Electric.
Farhan, you concur?
Well, for sure. Now, I don't know that I can grow the mustache as fast as Luke's going to grow it.
I got rid of it. It's gone.
But you're going to bring it back. But at some point, I'm going to show you the interview I did on the field here in 2014 when Luke made that crazy play in the end zone with the big-time comeback. And we're going to throw it back a little bit, Luke and I.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll see that a few times.
There's a couple good gems of a young me playing, talking to Farhan. A couple good gems up there.
How about a young me? I had more hair. I had less pounds. It was so good back in those days.
Yeah, good old days.
We were all different back then. Farhan, you're the best. Thanks for this. We appreciate you, buddy.